Hi everyone, I'm just winging this video because if I was to make a video on doing this timing chain, it would have taken me a week versus one day because you always have to have the camera angles, the lighting, all that. So I decided, hey, I'll take pictures of each step and give you tips and tricks. Sadly, I don't have all the specs on here. It's easiest just to get the Haynes manual from AutoZone or your local store. And why did it just load my last video up? Your Haynes manual will tell you all the torque specs. So this is what started out my timing chain. We're at 362,000 miles on this engine and car. If you follow my channel, it's a tow car, so it's towed behind a motorhome weekly. It has 362,000 miles on the engine, and the rest of the body has double that because it's digital and it doesn't um, like rack it up while you got the battery shut down and all that when you're towing it. So originally I was told that these don't last very long. This is the vacuum pump on the, it goes right here on the right side of the engine, driver's side. So I decided, hey, I'm going to change this. And as I changed it, the car actually, it came out of a lot of problems. This was the original, and I decided to put a new one on it, and it fixed a lot of problems. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do a timing chain. So we did a timing chain, and I'm hoping I can show you guys some tips and tricks. I would not recommend this in your own driveway unless you got a week to do it, because I did it as professional as I could, and I've done total engine rebuilds and everything. But since this car has so many miles put on it every year, it's normally about 100,000 miles a year. I decided to buy all GM parts, um, all GM sealant, everything that the car originally had, because it lasted 362,000 miles. I figure if I put the same thing back on there, it's going to last that long again. Sometimes when I buy like alternators from AutoZone or Napa and all that, they go out within a year. I still have a lot of original parts on this car from day one. I'm like, I might as well just buy original. I don't need that lifetime warranty. I need a part that's original that lasts forever. So I have a little over $1,000 in parts. Yes, you can buy an engine for $1,000 to $2,000, and then I get a turbo from the junkyard and all that. But as you can see in these pictures, you're going to want to see I use Mobil 1 oil with a few additives in there. And if you want to ask some questions, go ahead, or be a dick and just put you're stupid in the comments, because that's what normally people do. But I've rebuilt at least 10 engines, and this was my cleanest. So this is your vacuum pump. It runs off the cam. It starts over here and runs through. That pops off no problem. Has little green things. There's tons of videos on that. Mine, actually, the rubber piece in there finally broke after all them miles, and I decided to replace it. But this is what you start off with. You have to replace this because this goes into the cam. If it's up and down, I guess you could take the valve cover off, but this was a job. I know I don't have, these are just random pictures. There's the end of the cam, pushes right in there. I got this seal right here from GM. That's the vacuum seal, and then there's a vacuum pump seal down here. Vacuum pump seal. And then that's the end of the cam. Remember, we have 362,000 miles on this engine, and I bought it with 8,000 miles on it. This is the weird crank puller that they wanted me to use. See how dangerous it looks? This is actually in the Haynes manual. I ended up using a jaw tooth one that the jaws went in to 3 different areas, and then I put a little screwdriver on the backside to push the puller tight. And it did take a lot of, not a lot of work, but it didn't just fall off. It's not one of them. So I did that. And um, based on how I take care of my car, this is the rebuild I did. Um, you will definitely disagree with a few things, but my car has done 30,000 miles since this and no problems. So I ended up taking out the right side tire and inner fender, and I could get to this with no problems. Later on, I'm probably going to forget to tell you, but you see this bolt right here, here, and here. This right here is the plate that hides the timing chain. These bolts go through the bottom into the timing chain cover. There's 3 of them down here, and they're secret if you don't know about them. They go up through the timing chain cover, and it holds on the bottom. So if you only take off the top and then tilt this back, you're going to break this off down here, and that would be awful. Also, you have to remove the alternator, because the alternator bracket is actually part of this plate. let's go to the next picture. This was the inside of my can or below the thingy, whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying. So I'm gonna describe a few things. I may miss some stuff, but hopefully I help you guys out. An amateur, I don't think could really do this. You got to remove the fuel rail. You got to loosen it back here and right here so it pushes back because there's a stud right there and a stud right there. That one looks clean right there, but it rusted. Was almost impossible to get off. Plus, you have to remove this bolt a little bit to make it so it pops right off. And then there's another one there. That is all the pins that are in this, and that one is a pain in the ass. The fuel rail, you got to pop it apart. It just pulls and pulls out, and then I don't. That may be the second part I loosened, not that. That looks like an O2 sensor. But you gotta loosen it so it pushes back a little bit. This little clip pulls out so you can pull off the turbo hose because this has to push out to get out of the way. Right here's a hose, and there's another hose. That is for a coolant line that goes clear around, loops through here, and goes over here. So it goes from the turbo over there. Remove it like that. Then popped right off. Mine were not dry rotted, but I would really suggest replacing them. Also putting normal hose clamps on them because these hose clamps only work from the factory and they're rarely successful at working afterwards. Also, this was a seal clear around here, a rubber seal, which was amazing. The seal went down like this, and it went over something. It went over something. Normally, this is just RTV sealant. It was actually a seal, and it worked very nicely. So down in here, you got to remove your um, plugs, your coils, and your plug wires, just like you'd be doing a tune-up or spark plug change. I removed them, and then when it came time to cranking the engine over manually, I took them all the way out because the car did have compression. These right here are the injectors. 4 injectors here. Right here is a screw, screw, screw. Most of this stuff was 13, 15, and 10 millimeters. This is all 10 millimeters. Um, take that off, and both of these little bolts and these things pop right apart. I didn't really want to pull my injectors because I'm not having any injector problems, and there's a O-ring on the top of this. I already bought a kit to do that. They're green on here. I ended up buying GM ones, and some reason they came black, even though they were green on here. Oh no, they're black. There's a green one underneath it. Sorry, it's been 2 weeks since I did this. Oh no, it's been a month. Holy cow. But no, I put a new seal on there, and the old ones were still nice and flexible. So I was like, oh, hopefully the seal. There's two more seals down lower. Them should be nice too because the top one was good. So I'm just rooting for that. If I have problems, I'll immediately pull them out. Don't think it'd be too awful. But you put a pry bar after you loosen all them, you put a pry bar through here and pry off the cover just a little bit, and then pry off this side of the cover, and they pop right off. I'm sure a picture later will, I'll demonstrate some more. There's also a seal that goes on here and here, but it goes into the valve cover. I'm hoping I'm not. Hopefully I got a picture of the top of the engine so I could show you guys a little bit of stuff. I'm kind of rambling on, but maybe you'll watch this a couple times and see everything. So also on here, if you look, I have no gunk anywhere. There's nothing like this gunk is just because that's the outside of the seal. But I didn't find any gunk in my engine anywhere. I use Mobil 1 oil with a bunch of additives that I put in there. That is Lucas oil. And I don't even have an oil leak at 360,000 miles. It don't burn oil, everything. It's just great. So this is the timing chain with the cover off. There's a bunch of there's like 30 bolts you got to remove. There's a bolt there, there. That one goes clear through for the motor mount. Stay tuned because I did up finding another problem with my engine that wasn't even related to the timing chain. So as you tear it apart, Haynes manual definitely helps you. But you see that little notch, the green, that lines up with something we never found until we got the chain off. But that's one of your timing marks. And this engine is set up to be fail proof. If you're not a total idiot, you should be able to line everything up perfect, even if you accidentally rotate the motor or something happens or you come back a month or a year later. There's marks everywhere on this engine to get it back. So here's my tensioner. The tensioner has grooves in the top of it, so it doesn't loosen when when the engine is off. So there's always tension against it. I think it loosens just a little bit. We'll get to that later. Um, but Sorry, I just started thinking. But it's not one of the engines that has to have pressure. If it loses oil pressure, this is still going to be tight. Probably not as tight, but it has little clicks in there so it doesn't release. This is a slide-on gear. We did not replace it, and I'll show you the reasons why later. Here's the tensioner for the oil pump. The spring goes into this little thing right here. We did end up changing this with the bottom pan put in. The reason we did not, this is probably what people aren't going to like. I did not replace the lower chain for the oil pump because you have to remove the entire bottom section of the oil pan. Not that little oil pan that's black underneath there. It's the bigger oil pan. Now this is a 1.5. I guess I didn't say that at the beginning. 1.5 liter. So that chain is, even if you loosen this, the chain is still a bit too tight for you to take it off. So I did get a new gear and I did get a timing chain, or not timing chain, oil pump chain. But based on everything, it is worn, but it's not to where the point where it's going to break. So I just left it on there. Most likely I'll have a head gasket go bad before this chain would go bad. But I could not change this, but I did change the tensioner, and the tensioner had no wear on it. I replaced this and this with all GM. All this stuff is GM. I replaced these two. They had no wear on them. I couldn't even tell where the thing glided on it. There's only one bolt there, and it pushes on there. You got 3 bolts on this side. Also, I'll have to zoom up for you guys a little bit. The head gasket goes right here. That's between the top head and the lower block. Right here, can you see that right there and that right there? That is the head gasket, and it overlaps just a little bit. I got kind of worried about that because it's metal, and maybe right here is where the timing chain cover goes on. I was like, why would they do that? Then the timing chain needs really thick coolant, or really thick um, sealant on there. The timing cover is actually notched out just for that. So I thought that was pretty cool because I was going to try to like cut it off so it was a flusher fit, but it all worked out good. Here's a better picture of this down here. I didn't even look at my pictures before I started this video, but remember the 3 screws that go upwards, and I replaced that. I think all that looks good. There's my helper's hand. Here's it looking down. See these little notches right here? This flips down into these notches. So once one of these notches go out, this thing flips down, stays flipped down at all times, but it flips into the next notch. So it cannot go backwards. And it was really strong. The engine had been shut off for a day. We let it all cool off and all the oil leaked down. But as you're looking at this, look, there's no gunk. It's just oil. It's clean engine. It's nice. But if you think this is getting worn out, it's not. I don't really think it's going to be this because unless this goes out all the way, and 360,000 miles, it's all highway. It's all doing 65 to 85 mile an hour. Yes, Wyoming's 80, so you do 85 miles per hour in the United States. But this was halfway out. It still had another halfway to go. I don't think you really want it to go out all the way, but I'm just saying that highway miles did not affect this and did not wear it out too much. These I just cleaned these all up before I put them together, but these right here, they're called phasers, or I call them phasers, but they're called a bunch of different things. These were actually bad on my engine. They just started to go out. Also, when you have all those apart, it's easy to get to the water pump, just the pulley part right there. These springs were starting to loosen up or they were just worn out. They were starting to make like a clicking sound or something. I actually rocked this one and it rocked a lot. This one didn't rock at all. I was like, well, if this one went out and it took this much work, I'm going to replace them both. So them actually came from Advanced Auto, AutoZone. I don't even know what brand they were because this was a surprise to me. I would have bought them through GM and wish I had, but I ended up buying theirs. They look the same, act the same, put them on no problem. But everything else was GM. This plate right here, I ended up buying a GM one and it came in. For some reason, it looked different. This goes, the chain goes through here and it just pushes it down a little bit so there's no flapping of it right there. I actually like the original one. It had no wear on it. it did not show where the chain had been gliding through, so I left it on there. The plastic pin right up here on the new one just wasn't the same. And I was like, I am not using that. I don't know what this is a picture of. This is down into the pan. I had to clean all this out because this did not have a gasket on it, and I put a bunch of RTV there and over here. But I ended up getting GM's RTV. I know everybody likes that gray stuff from AutoZone, and it works tremendously well. But I decided to get GM stuff, and I don't think I could ever go back to that stuff you get from AutoZone. I think you can even buy it at Walmart. Um, Hold on, I got some right here. I'll see what it's called because I still use it for electrical stuff. Permatex, that's what it is. Tune up dielectric grease. That's what I got right there. But Permatex is the stuff I would use for like valve covers and all that. But I use the GM stuff and it came out so nice. Like it was a totally different consistency. It came out like paste almost, and Permatex almost looks kind of wettish when you put it down. It looks like it just slide off and did really good. So here's this chain. The timing chain's on the outside of that gear, and the oil pump is on the inside, and it goes down. And you can see the oil pump gear right there, and it comes back up. The oil pump has a really long shaft on it and everything. I wasn't going to get into it. Plus, the oil pump could be in time. We didn't even look at it because this was just too hard to take off. I did not want to drop the lower pan because it's Permatex too, and I didn't want any leaks. That's about it for that. Oh, there's the cover. Sweet. I don't know why I took pictures of. There is a pin. There's two pins in it somewhere. I look like an idiot trying to tell you guys this. So I put a new seal in it. Put the seal in it before the okay. So I bought a GM seal, and the person that was helping me was like, "What the heck is this?" The seal actually came with a driver, but it was just a plastic driver. So I put it in and no problem. They're like, "You don't need my seal drivers because you gotta drive it in, and it has a backing on it, so you don't push it in too far." The seal. If you put a new seal on it, I would because you're already down here and it's only a couple bucks. But if you buy, he's like, I normally buy aftermarket from AutoZone and they don't come with seal drivers. And I was like, well, look at the benefit I had. So I ended up stupidly taking it out. And when I took it out, fucking hell, hold on. Somebody just, uh, somebody just started. Sorry, guys. Um, I'm actually talking to someone else before I started this. And I forgot to leave the party. So they joined back and started yelling at me. Um, So I was stupidly and took this seal out so it'd be easier to put over the crankshaft and slide on. And then I had to cut a hole out of that plastic driver to get it on. So figure out how to put it on with this in because it was so much easier. But there, oh, there's a pin. There's a pin right there and a pin right there. There's your two pins. And this was the easiest thing to put on. And that is before I cleaned it. I don't even know if I cleaned it, did I? I think it looks pretty clean. Other than this crap you just got to peel off, but that's normal. There's the top of the valve cover without me cleaning it, and I did not clean it because unless you have brand new parts washer cleaner stuff in it, I felt like the parts washer cleaner probably had more dirt in it than what this thing had if I didn't clean it out. So right here's them rubber things. I replaced them. They were kind of they broke as I took them out, but the new ones I put in, they were hard too. So I don't know. But here is the little groove that the new seal goes into, which is awesome that it has a seal because I've had so many cars that don't have a seal. But it's awesome that it goes here and goes over. You don't have to put a bunch of crap there. And then there's an inner seal. But on this seal, tips and tricks here. On this seal, there's a little mark right there. And then there is, yeah, that's the starting mark. It's notched out. And then somewhere on the bigger one, okay, my camera's not showing it, but right there, I believe, there's a start mark somewhere on here, just like that is notched out. And there's two start marks on this, so you don't get it mixed up at all. I don't see them in the picture, but you can't mess up. Oh, there they are. See how that's wider right there? And it's wider right there? Barely. Let's see if I can zoom up. it's just a little bit. See, it goes boom, 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 boom. That's a square in the gasket. You'll put a square in that side, a square in that side, and there's a start mark. See that notch right there? And then that gasket just falls right into place. And see if I can zoom up on this one. You can't really see it, but that's notched out so that this one gets put in correctly too. But that's awesome. It keeps it in place. I didn't put any Permatex on it to keep it in place. I just left it like this and put it back together. Put new seals on it. Here's the engine going back together. I did take the air cleaner out, air box. The bottom of the air box just pops right up. There's no screws that hold it on. Also, while you're doing this, reach in there and just kind of wiggle the impeller on the turbo. Make sure it's all good. I think I got 200,000 out of my turbo before it was done. It actually started locking up when the engine would start. You would start and you hear wee, like air trying to escape, and the engine would just die. So I ended up replacing it. It fixed it all. There is something. Okay, behind this. Guess I didn't get a picture with the chain off. Maybe we'll get to it later, and I took a different picture. There is an oiler on this side behind here that shoots oil out. And it's really weird because it's a nut with a hole in it, and then the end of, or no, it's a bolt with a hole like this, a bolt that goes through, but it's hollow, and then the end of the nut has a hole in it where it just shoots. And it must work because it all came out good, but I did not replace that, and you cannot blow through it. It's a pinhole that shoots out of there, but I'm sure with the high pressure it works good. I just kind of looked at it, made sure it looked good, I guess. I didn't know what more to do with it. And oh, look back here. I had to take the alternator off because back here somewhere is the bolts. You also have to take off the tensioner. Go ahead and put a new belt on it while you're at it. The tensioner, and I think that was it. What's this? I know what it is, but I don't know why I took a picture of it. I take too many pictures. Oh, I also did these fall off because of some reason. They probably don't like gas, but you can see that lower green one now. And the black one should be sitting in here somewhere because some of them fell off. That's probably an O-ring right there. This looks way dirtier than what it was. Um, I went ahead and replaced my lifters, which are these little things. They're underneath here. They're on the back side. So I went ahead and pulled my cams, both cams, but I did one at a time, and replaced the lifters, hydraulic lifters. They kind of just pump up, and that's what makes everything really work up here, other than the cams. With the mileage on here, I had a groove in one right there, and they still had their markings. So when they're cast brand new, they have a bunch of scratches in them to kind of like help it, I guess. And all mine were smooth, or not smooth. All mine were still hexed, kind of like if you ever honed a cylinder before. They were still like that. This looks awful in the picture, but none of them were scratched except I had one really deep one, maybe a little piece of dirt got in there, and one that was kind of like light right there. But this looks awful, but it is really good. Um, they're all perfect. I didn't even need to test them. We did take a pyrometer, I think it was, and measure the cam, and nothing was worn out. It was all still factory specs. Um, Zooming out, this is the exhaust side. That's the intake. This is the exhaust. We did not mark these on here. They did from factory, which is really cool. You'll want to get a wrench to put on here to do a bunch of the work. That actually stops it from cranking over or getting out of time. When that cam was in there, this right here, we could not figure out what that was. We didn't really look into it because we were trying to get it done in a timely manner. But there was like a lifter that was back there that didn't lift anything, but it had a, yeah, I took a picture of it. I didn't really know what that was. If anybody knows what that is, let me know. And again, look how clean this engine was. There should be gunk buildup in this area or something. It's pretty wild. I never noticed that K before. Um, Probably just me taking pictures. That is a pretty deep groove, but the dirt wasn't in there, so I just cleaned it, made sure it was all good. I don't think it was really worth changing. Oh, there's the phasers. There's both of the new ones, I think. Yeah, that's the new phasers. There's the old to the new. That was round. The old was square, and the bolts go through an opposite way, but they were Loctited in, so I'm pretty good. I made sure the teeth lined up. They're about 180 bucks a piece from GM, which I would definitely buy. I torqued them down, no problem. Now you can see the chain off, but the guides are on there. Put the chain on with the guides. Get the man. I forgot about this part. Should have told you at the beginning. The manual. All these bolts. Normally, if a bolt says tighten it to 20 degree or tighten it to 95 inch-pounds and then go another 20 degrees, that's an expansion bolt, and you should replace that bolt. There was every bolt wanted an extra 30, 90 degrees and all that. Even this bolt going through the cam, the balancer shaft, crankshaft bolt that holds the pulley on, the balancer pulley, it wanted an extra like 30 degrees. So you definitely want the manual to make sure everything gets tight because you don't want anything flying apart. And after all this work and money, you want it done right. But if you're one of them that will replace the expansion bolts, make sure you read the um, the book thoroughly, the Haynes manual, because even this bolt, I guess I should have bought a new bolt, but I I grew up rebuilding engines, and the only bolts that were expansion ones were head bolts. And I didn't do any head bolts on this. So if I would have known that, I would have replaced them. But luckily, I didn't have any break. They all tightened down really good. They felt great. But I had to do this on a few. And if you don't know what I mean, you tighten this down to torque specs, which your torque wrench will like click or something when you get there. And then you put this doohickey on there, and it holds itself somewhere on the engine, and as you turn it, this little thing goes over and it'll say, hey, do another 60 degrees. So that little line right there will go clear over to 60, and that is tight. And a lot of stuff wanted that. There's the new phasers on there with the original thing right there. Turned out great. I think there's much more to show you on that. Oh, there's the alignment. No, oh, maybe that's what that picture was. Okay, yeah. See the dot with that? Dot with that. That's to align the top. So that means these cans would be perfectly aligned because these, oh, hold on. Feel smart now. So right there's an alignment pin on both of them. You cannot mess up putting on the phasers. So that means the phasers and the cam are in sync. So then if the phasers and cam are in sync, if you line that dot up with the chain, that is in time. So the top end on this side's in time. If you line them two up, this side of the engine is in time. So none of the top end can be wrong. And then if you line this up with this sprocket, the crankshaft is aligned with the rest of the engine. So that's why I said earlier it's idiot proof. You because if you do not have these aligned, the engine can hit itself like interference. So that's why I say it's kind of idiot proof because this now aligns the bottom end of the engine and everything goes right back together. Oh, here's the I was putting using that GM paste, the Permatex, and it was some stiff stuff. It was cold out in the garage. I did this a week before Christmas, and it was nice and thick, and actually sheared the rivets off while I was doing it. It exploded in my hand because GM sold it to me as a what do you call them things? Dang it! Kind of like a well, that was a caulking gun, kind of like caulking, but it was a little one. So here we go. Now I can show you a little bit of what I didn't show you earlier. So here's the fuel rail. After you take out all them bolts and these bolts right here and loosen that, and then you got to loosen another one so that pushes back. I took a screwdriver and pushed it through here and pried off of this top of there and the top of this side and popped right up. Make sure you undo all your wiring. There's that pipe I was telling you about, the coolant line that goes around there and then goes right down to there. I loosened mine right there. I would actually buy new O-rings for that. They're really rusty on here. I just did my turbo not that long ago, 160,000 miles ago, and mine were still a little bit too much rusty. And there I put the new vacuum pump on there. The line goes that way. Oh, you can see it goes up and down right there. So that's the two. This system almost primed itself because you have to take this off because it goes over the top of the valve cover. It almost primed itself, and I haven't even primed it yet. And we're in winter, and I have hot water or hot air. Um, it gurgles when it comes to a stop and does that stupid auto shut off, but it primed itself, got rid of all the air, almost. It does this gurgling thing that I gotta fix, like a whooshing through the dash, because there's still air in it. I marked these only because if I did have a problem afterwards, I want to know I put all these back together right. We took that out, and we did not like the bolt they had in there, so we put our own bolt in there. Um, that go, you push that back on, slide that over. We left that one in. There's a wire that goes clear down the side that plugs into something. I just took it out to move it out of the way. Them two plugs you gotta take off, of course. I think this is almost self-explanatory. This right here, this line, do not break it. So what I did was to hook it off down here. It takes like a T6 Torx bit. Took it off of the turbo area, and then I left it attached up here. Remove the dipstick. This wire right here, that's to charge something on my car. So you're probably looking at that like, what the heck? This goes down, and it is one of the ground wires, and then there's a lower ground wire. Make sure you clean that up a little bit when you put it back together, because it could be something that helps your starter out. It could, if your ground, there's so many ground wires on a car, you just want them to all work. Um, oh, to remove this valve cover, these two bolts right here, I did loosen it, and this pushes this way a little bit, because this little ring right here comes over to the valve cover. Now this stud right here and this stud back here, they are just for looks for that cover to go on. You did not have to take them off to remove the valve cover. These bolts right here you had to remove for the engine mount, and you had so much room in here. I'm a fat guy, so I get claustrophobic, and I hate tight spots. I was like, man, I'm only gonna have like 3 inches of room right here. I had enough room I could probably fit my body through here between the fender well and the engine. It was just amazing. It went so well. It did take some time. I think I could have done it all in one day, but I wanted the silicone to dry. That way I could. They say to let it dry for like 24 hours. I normally don't even let it dry. I just start the car and go, and then I have oil leaks later. I let it sit for 15 hours, and it's like a brand new car now. 1.5 GM engine. I am going to ENGINE. There we go. Okay, hopefully I can find this because there's something missing on this photo. Sorry you guys, I was not prepared. Sheesh, type in Malibu. So this one did come out of a Malibu. Oh, cool. So we have something here. So I guess I didn't take a complete photo when I was done. Here we go. Oh, don't play. Do not play. Okay, so here we go. This is what it looks like done, I guess. I don't really know what to say. Right here, this hose right here, and then it branches off this way and then goes down. Mine was broken. If you guys watch a video where I did my spark plugs, I said don't break this, and 2 seconds later I broke it right here. I put a line in here myself, and I don't want to recommend anything, but that's what I'm gonna do in the future. But I went ahead and bought a new line. It was like 35 bucks from GM. And I cut these off. Cut them off there, and the lower one I think popped off. They always tell you can put a clip in there on these, but you can't. The 90 degree makes it impossible, and they tell you in the Haynes manual that this is a one-time use only thing. So I went ahead and bought a new one in the whole all with all the clips, and I looked at it and it is not removable. They made it one time use only. So I took the old one and kept it, and I'm going to adapt it so that I can in the future if I break this, I can just use normal hose lines and run it all. But most likely you're probably going to break this, and I did get like a new one of these things to go. I think I bought that one. One of these just pushes in. Um, that needed replaced, but I didn't. I can always do it later. But this line right here is your evap stuff, and mine I just replaced it. That's what I did. I put a new one on, but in the future I'll probably just put a line on there if I have to do any work. I don't really think there's much more to tell you. I don't have torque specs or early access is ending. Whatever. I don't really have much more to tell you. Hopefully I helped someone out. This little clip you got pulled apart. Almost all the clips on this thing had these stupid red things on there. I remember back in the day, red was only on like fuel lines, and then yellow was airbags, but now it's on everything. Even this, well, it's O2, so that should, I guess it should have one. But the alternator even had one on it. They're everywhere. But hopefully this helps somebody out. Let's see if I can get out of here and look at them. Maybe I'll see something I forgot. Yeah, I don't really want to tell you torque specs because I may say inch pounds versus foot pounds, but there was inch pounds and foot pounds. Haynes manual helped out to a T, and the only thing I didn't change while doing this was the cams, of course. They were still good. I did change that. Oh, I should show you guys that. And the lower chain. Everything else was replaced. So when you get this, and this too, see that little hole right there? So when you get that, there's actually, if you buy GM, they give you a pin to put through there, which a paperclip does the same thing. You put a paperclip through there, it holds that spring under load so you can install it and uninstall it. This was the same way. Originally, this is pushed in all the way, and this is pushed down just a little bit, and there's a hole in it, and it has a pin going through there to hold this in. So after you mount this and have all this set up, you pull that pin and it goes poof, pushes right out. So that's pretty cool. You do not want to pull that out without it because it's kind of hard to push that back in, even though it don't have pressure. Also, I got a seal for that. I got a seal for that. I don't think there was a seal on that. I know I'm just rambling now. Hopefully I help someone. I got a seal for the main on there, and then we obviously got the one for this right here. Remember, you gotta remove the tensioner for the belt that goes around all this. Might as well put a new belt on there. I actually have 250,000 miles on the original belt, not by choice, um, but the original belt does pretty good for the price. And I think I'm gonna wrap it up. How many minutes am I up to? 36. I'm sorry, guys. I could have done the whole timing chain in 36 minutes and cut it down. Well, leave your negative and positive comments. I'm always working on this car. This car has 362,000 miles on it. Malibu. Check my channel out. Always using it. I'm going to be uploading a lot more content. This is 2024. A lot more content on the car because a lot of people are curious, and a lot of people don't even believe me it has that many miles, even though I show them the speedometer or the tach, whatever it is. But yeah, it's a one of a kind car for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I helped.